Good morning and welcome back to Gaming with ADHD, where today we're going to be continuing our deep dive through the Alternity Game Master's Guide. We are dealing with a screaming child in the background, apparently. All right, if that got picked up. I do apologize, folks. Unfortunately, I can't make grandbabies stop screaming, but hopefully it's minimized. How about I turn the gain down a little bit? Maybe that'll help. All right. Anyways, so it has been a whopping 24 hours since we've been together. I do apologize for being late. I had to stay late at work. Yes, that involves me sitting in the same chair for longer, but it's all good, I promise. So today we're going to be looking at alien artifacts. That's going to be a short chapter. We're going to get through that one pretty quick. Basically, alien artifacts are a perk or technically a flaw that you can take. And so it basically gives some examples of what a game master can use in that regard. And then we're going to get into what I'm most excited about is the campaign design chapter. As I said yesterday, I did get a chance to start running a session last Saturday. Well, I ran a session, but part of a module, and we didn't get to finish it. And I have a feeling I'm going to need to do some editing. So I'm actually kind of excited to look at that and see what some of my options are, what kind of things I can do to, tweak it, because they're not, they're already off the rails anyways. So, let's just keep going. So, anyways, I'm excited to get through that chapter. But before we get into that, as always, folks, if you are new here, do make sure that you're subscribed. I try to put out a few videos or do live streams. I've been doing more live streams lately, but there's a variety of reasons for that. But I do try to at least get a few things out each week, covering all sorts of tabletop gaming content. It's usually stuff that I'm interested in, so hopefully you find it interesting as well, because I do try to cover things that don't necessarily get a lot of space in the algorithm, we'll say. Now, as always, like, subscribe, share, all that fun stuff. And I thought I was going to say something else, but I don't remember. So we're gonna skip that, and let's go ahead and get started. As always, it's just me during these morning streams. But actually did have a good stream last night with Kim looking at Batman. If you haven't checked those out, the Batman Gotham City Chronicles role-playing game is actually it's really solid as well. And we've been having fun going through that book. So we do that on Tuesday nights. And once that's done, then we're going to get into Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So make sure you're subscribed so you can come and check those out as well. All right, so alien artifacts. Mysterious and unique artifacts or devices that human science cannot fully explain or duplicate. While alien artifacts may give the hero special abilities or hamper them in unusual ways, they give you a number of story vehicles and plots to weave adventures around. Where did the artifact come from? Who wants it and why? And what miracles might the hero perform with the artifact? Artifacts are created by means beyond human ken. While this often implies a star-spanning civilization that preceded humanity, or one that watches over it today, it's quite possible for a highly advanced civilization to never leave its own planet. And when humans arrive to explore the ruins, there's no telling what they might find. Alien artifacts might drop in on perfectly normal people unexpectedly, or they may be the goal of an extensive quest taken on by the greatest of heroes. Okay, first off, I love when they give you good writing like that. Just, here's a hook, here's why you're going to use this. Especially since the second chapter we're going to look at is the campaign design. Like, this is literally like, hey, here's something cool. Here's a way to write a story around it. So that I think is fantastic. All right. Artifact acquisition. Artifacts appear through one of two different ways. Either hero begins play with an artifact by selecting the alien artifact perk or flaw, or the heroes uncover an alien artifact during their adventures. Perks and flaws. When a player selects alien artifact as a perk or flaw, you need to do a bit of work to prepare the character for your campaign. First, you'll have to design the artifact in question. As a perk, the device provides more benefits than penalties. As a flaw, the device is more trouble than it's worth. Second, you'll have to think about how the character acquired the device, what technology or civilization it represents, and who knows about the hero's special device. Getting the player involved in the process, even if you keep a few secrets and surprises to yourself, is a good idea. Alien artifacts demand incorporation in the stories you create. At the same time, the presence of a mysterious item of legend opens up a number of adventure possibilities. Since the artifact is tied to the hero during the creation process, it should be difficult for the hero and the hero's special possession to become separated on a permanent basis. It's unfair to the player to lose an artifact in the first adventure after allocating precious skill points to it during character creation. Nor is it fair to get if a hero gets the bonus skill points from an alien artifact flaw and acquires a device that can easily be sold or thrown away. At your discretion, a hero might cash in his alien artifact at some point. The hero could buy off the flaw, severing the connection to the device. It also might fit the story for the hero to turn in a perk for an equal number of skill points. Maybe the hero submits his invention to the Research Institute for study. Let's see. Forgot to do something real quick. All right. Artifacts in the story. Heroes may run across unusual devices or situations later in their careers. When you place an alien artifact in an adventure, you decide what role it will play: baneful or beneficial, asset or liability. You should feel more free to exercise your whims with artifacts that you give to heroes during play. Since the heroes didn't pay anything to obtain their new toy, it's okay if it becomes lost, destroyed, or stolen in the course of the campaign. It's important that alien artifacts remain obscure, unique, and wondrous. In a sense, the artifact defines the character who owns it, becoming a part of the concept and image of the hero. When an artifact is encountered during a story, it shouldn't be an event of passing significance. It should represent a major plot development with momentous implications for the campaign. The artifact rules presented here aren't intended to give your heroes even more astounding powers of mind and body. They're here to help you build a feature to add to your adventures. Let's see. All right. Artifact design. The process of creating an alien artifact consists of 4 steps: form, purpose, powers, and drawbacks. This should be a creative process, so let your imagination run wild. The design considerations discussed below are guidelines. As always, you should feel free to modify and adapt the rules to your campaign as you see fit. All right, form. It's up to you to decide whether to first select the artifact's shape and appearance, or whether you want to decide its general purpose before anything else. Does form follow function, or vice versa? A list of several possible forms can be found on table G51. Choose one that strikes your interest, or roll the dice and allow chance to decide. In addition to selecting a physical form, you should consider the characteristics and properties of the artifact. What does it look like, feel like, smell like? Is it simple or complex, rough or smooth, sturdy or delicate, symmetrical or crooked? Does it react normally to various stimuli, getting warm when heated, for example? Or does it defy classification? Details make an alien artifact memorable and sometimes a little frightening for the heroes. The physical forms listed on table G51 are explained below. So here's our table. So it's we have appliance or machine, carried device, baton, book, disc, case, pistol, rifle, shield, sword, tool, clothing, graft or implant, procedure or treatment, site or installation, and vehicle. All right, Glenn says this is a lot of ink spent on what seems like a really simple thing. I don't think it's supposed to be a simple thing. Okay, don't forget so actually you would have missed that from the player's handbook unless you went back and watched those videos. Remember the alien artifact perk, it's a bonus. You get a like, it could be, an amulet that hides a laser, or it could be, it could be the Millennium Falcon, something along those lines. So they're like it says, it details make an alien artifact memorable. It's supposed to be memorable. It's supposed to be Han Solo's fuzzy dice, or the hero's lucky charm, something like that. It's not just, hey, here's a cool looking item. It's, here's something that's important to the player. So I like, and on top of that, it's like 5 or 6 pages. So, and a lot of it is, again, details kind of like this. So we're not going to read all of them. I think we're gonna do like we've done in other deep dives. We'll pick like one per page as we go through this. All right, I wanted to look at clothing and carried devices. Those are kind of common sense. So let's look at appliance or machine. The artifact is a substantial mechanical or electronic device, ranging in size from a microwave oven to a steam turbine filling a large room. It's designed to be installed and turned on instead of being carried like a flashlight or a sidearm. A hero with an artifact of this size needs to find a place to keep it. Leaving it at the team headquarters or in the ship is a good option. An artillery-sized weapon, resurrection machine, computer, shield generator, or long-range communicator might fall into this category. Okay, that is not what I was expecting them to say. Like, I was thinking like a little bit more man portable, but okay. I'm I'm finding this a little bit more interesting already because they aren't just going with, handheld items. Maybe it's, okay, so appliance or machine, it could, it's the, it's the special hyperdrive that allows the Millennium Falcon to make the Kessel run in under 12 parsecs or whatever it is. I probably got the number wrong. So, obviously it's not small, but it's very special. It's very memorable. Let's see. Glenn likes the idea or likes the treatment one, so we'll take a look at that. All right, let's see. Okay, we're going to skip carry device and clothing because those are kind of, obvious. Graft or implant, and yes, Glenn, we will get to treatment. Much like a piece of cybernetic equipment, the alien artifact has been installed within the hero's body. If it replaces a limb or covers the body's surface, it may be quite noticeable. Okay, so you could do like a cybernetic, like an alien artifact cybernetic arm. That could be interesting. Deeper implants are usually undetectable by the naked eye. The device may mimic, replace, or improve the biological systems and organs within the hero's body, or it could be a module that doesn't interfere with the hero's normal biological functions. Heroes with alien implants might be subjects of experimentation. Ha ha! You got probed. Unwilling agents or emissaries of the alien power, or even special agents given access to unusual technology. Some implants may not be conventional technological devices. A symbiotic organism living in the hero's bloodstream falls into the category. Oh, okay. You want to do Stargate? Here, this is your gold. Okay. Symbiotic organism. There you go. Procedure or treatment. Subjected to a special procedure, the hero has been altered by alien technology. This could have been a mental training regimen where the hero learned how to use his mind to the greatest effect, or it might have involved exposure to mutagenic processes, augmentation of the hero's physiology, or anything else you can think of. The hero might not even be aware of who changed him or why. Okay, I'm gonna use a Stargate reference again. The one where Daniel Jackson gets his head stuck in the thing and then becomes like, like miraculously smart and then ascends. Um, so could be something along those lines, maybe not necessarily that severe. Obviously, that would take a character out of the game rather quickly, but again, something along those lines. Uh, Site or installation. The artifact is a special facility that cannot be removed from its current location. It might be a widely known monument or mystery that the hero solved or investigated secretly, or it could be an undiscovered place that the hero stumbled upon. Perhaps the installation has worked some kind of transformation on the hero, or it might provide a special and unique resource that only the hero can use. An immobile site might demand the hero's periodic return in order to retain any benefits he gains from it. For instance, once every year, the hero might have to recharge his cosmic energy by bathing in the iridescent splendor of the crystal shrine of Redun. It's also possible that the artifact may be able to monitor the hero from afar, communicating telepathically and instantaneously no matter how far away the hero is. Okay, this one I'm kind of mixed on. I'm not sure as a GM that like an installation or a site is something I would let the player have at the outset. But it could be something where, like, okay, we're 4 or 5 games in or sessions in, and the heroes are exploring this location, and one of the heroes does something. Okay, so hey, for this session, this is your upgrade. Yeah, maybe you didn't get to pick it, but here's a bonus, and you can tie that into the storyline. Vehicle. The artifact is too large to carry, but at least it can move itself around. It may be a vehicle capable of actual motion, a car, a plane, or flying saucer. Or it might be a vehicle of a different type, a teleportation pad, or a time machine. Perhaps it isn't really a transportation device at all, and any abilities it possesses for movement might be secondary to its true function. For example, a car-sized alien computer that follows the hero around and matches this definition. Okay, that could be fun. All right, so that is all of the forms. There's some fun ideas in there. There's a lot to work with. All right, purpose. If humanity is any model, alien civilizations are likely to fill the galaxy with useless junk. Disco records, styrofoam cups, garlic presses, or ceramic alligators. Fortunately, we're not interested in artifacts like these. They may be worth money to the collectors of such trivia, but they don't do anything. In your campaign, an alien artifact should have significant and powerful capabilities. The first step in identifying these capabilities is determining the artifact's purpose. Table G52 lists possible purposes for an artifact. Roll once for a primary purpose and once for a secondary, or select a combination of purposes that seems appropriate. While artifacts may have a variety of powers and drawbacks, most of these are tied to its primary purpose. So let's take a look at that table real quick. All right, so we've got communication, control, defense, environment, information, medical, mental enhancement, offense, physical enhancement, transmutation, transportation, or none. Oh, none only applies for secondary. Okay, that's fine. All right, let's bounce through some of these. Okay, communication is obvious. Control. Okay, the artifact is designed to control a specific site or system, providing the hero with access to that area's assets. Optionally, the artifact may exert some kind of unusual command or control over a certain type of machine, such as computers, gravity induction engine, or star drives. It might even allow control over certain types of life forms. What's with the hate for ceramic alligators? It's not hate. It's just saying that the ceramic alligator has no intrinsic function. It is valuable for being a ceramic alligator, but it has no superpowers. That's all they're trying to say. We don't hate Florida. Mildly dislike, maybe, but not hate. All right. Defense is kind of obvious. Yeah, so it could be like a shield or armor enhancement, something like that. Environment. The artifact manipulates the surrounding environment, purifying the air, extinguishing fires on command, controlling the temperature in the vicinity, and so on. Okay, portable thermostat. There we go. Could be interesting. Information. The purpose of the device is to gather information or increase the user's ability to do so. For example, the device might provide the user with clairsentience, drastically improving his vision or hearing, or act as a database. Okay, so like portable scanner. So it's like, so it's like a special visor that is built into his helmet. Just a thought. Medical healing, mental enhancement. This artifact serves to enhance the user's mental abilities. Typically, this results in a modification of the character's ability scores, resistance modifiers, or skills. Which then, if we look at physical enhancement, device augments the hero's physical capabilities. It might be an improvement of the musculature, skeleton, or metabolic supercharger that makes the hero a dynamo when forced into a fight. I am an idiot and just realized what all of these are. Remember, this game was made by TSR. Okay. Technically published by Wizards of the Coast, but it was ready to go when Wizards bought them in 98, which means it was designed under TSR. These are magic items. It's a magic sword. It's a belt of giant strength. It's a helmet of far seeing. Whatever it is. That I should have seen it. I'm an idiot. The device is a weapon, offense, transmutation. The purpose is to change one material, item, or form of energy into something else. Thank you for your support, Glenn. No, I just feel dumb because that's like they wrapped it in science fiction terminology and completely threw me off the track. But yeah, if you just think of alien artifacts as magic items, there you go. Yep. All right. Transportation. So a scroll of teleport. All right. Powers and drawbacks. Although all alien artifacts are rare and wonderful devices, their exact abilities must be defined for game purposes. Powers are described as ordinary, good, or amazing. Drawbacks are described as slight, moderate, and extreme. When a hero selects an alien artifact as a perk, the result is typically an artifact with good or amazing powers balanced by slight or moderate drawbacks. A flaw artifact displays ordinary powers that must be paid for with moderate or extreme drawbacks. Naturally, when you design an artifact for the heroes, it can have as many powers or drawbacks as you like. All right. So alien artifact as a perk. Okay, so you roll a d8. You're going to get one ordinary power, one good, one amazing, one ordinary or one good secondary power, and then one slight or one moderate drawback. Okay. Yeah. It perfectly makes sense. Okay. After you determine the primary and secondary purposes of the device and the number of its powers and drawbacks, you're ready to determine its powers. You can either choose powers that seem appropriate to you, or you can let the dice fall where they may on table G55. Okay. I am not going to read all the powers and drawbacks. Okay, we have to look at anti-life ray. That's just a given. The device emits a beam of energy that disrupts bioelectric energy. The weapon is fired using the modern ranged weapon skill. Select a specialty skill appropriate to the device's form. On a hit, the beam does D4 wounds, 2D4 wounds, or 3D4 wounds of energy damage at ordinary firepower, depending on the degree of success achieved. Armor is useless against an anti-life ray. Oh, that's not good. Ordinary beam affects a single target out to a range of 20 meters. It may fire once per day. Good beam affects all targets in a path 1 meter wide and 40 meters long and may be fired 3 times per day. Amazing. Beam affects all targets in a path 2 meters wide and 60 meters long and may be fired 6 times per day. Okay. Armor's kind of normal. Carrier wave. All right, that's teleport. All right, so here's a list of all the different powers that they have. Okay, I like how they've done this. Okay, it keeps it simple. There's probably like Beyond Science might have some stuff because I have that book. Anyways, other books would have come up with different artifact powers, probably like the weapons and armor books, or the equipment guy, whatever the name of the book is. Anyways, but this I actually think is a decent mix, because that's 11 different categories, 4 different powers each. And then each power has 3 levels of power. So yeah, they're actually giving you a lot of different powers. Cyber consciousness. The artifact functions as a grid caster, allowing the hero to project his consciousness into computers, networks, and computerized machinery. He can download or install programs and information by use of the knowledge computer operation skill. Ordinary, the artifact confers a -2 bonus and must be in contact with the target computer. Good, the range increases to 500 meters and the bonus to -3 steps. And amazing, the range increases to 50 kilometers with a -4 step bonus. Okay. Dark matter attack. Once per hour, the hero can condense streams of dark matter into normal space and form them into bolts or blades. Attacks are made using a modern ranged weapons skill check. Select a specialty skill appropriate to the device's form. Ordinary, the attack inflicts 2d4 stun, 2d4 wounds, d6 mortal of energy good damage, and has a range of 100 meters. Wow, good level energy or good level damage. And basically it's hand sized. That's the ordinary rating. Good inflicts 3d4 stun, 3d4 wound, 2d4 mortal, up to 200 meters, and amazing is 3d4, 3d4, 2d4 up to 500 meters. Oh, energy amazing damage. So this dark matter gun can take out starships. Because remember, starships have amazing hull ratings. So versus an ordinary damage type, it's going to degrade 2 levels. So the stun means nothing. So yeah, that thing that's mean. I would not give a hero the dark matter attack without some serious drawbacks. Like massive drawbacks, even at the ordinary level. That's just mean. Dark matter control, displacement, disintegration field, energy dispersal, elemental conversion. This artifact allows its user to convert one element into another: nitrogen to oxygen, mercury to iodine, or lead to gold. It operates once per day. The device has a range of 10 meters and can affect up to 10 kilograms. The change lasts for 1 hour. Oh, it's temporary. That's at ordinary. So then good. Change lasts for 6 hours. Amazing. The change lasts for 1 day. Okay, so it is temporary. But essentially temporary transmutation. Interesting. Empathy, energy dispersal, gravity generation, healing touch, hyperadaptation, kinetic control, immortality. The artifact drastically extends a hero's lifespan and renders him resistant to mortal blows. Ordinary. The hero's natural lifespan is 5 times the norm. In addition, he gains a -2 bonus to any stamina endurance checks caused by mortal damage. Good. The hero's lifespan is 10 times longer than normal, and he has a -4 bonus to stamina endurance checks due to mortal damage. Amazing. The hero's natural lifespan is effectively unlimited, and the hero automatically succeeds at all stamina endurance checks caused by mortal damage. If the hero runs out of mortal points, he is simply rendered unconscious, not dead. His life ends only if his physical body is annihilated. You can decide that a specific form of attack, such as poisoning by a particular substance, silver weapons, or exposure to certain wavelength of radiation, may also extinguish his life. Yeah, this is another one where it's like, I'm not giving this to a player without severe flaws, severe draw. Like, you're going to get this bonus, and it's going to suck. Yeah. Especially, like, also including, like, a specific weakness. Specific weakness that would not be known right away. It would show up later. Because I would want time to figure it out. It would be one that sufficiently annoys you. Molecular manipulation, kinetic dispersal, multitasking, molecular transformation, omnidata computer, magnetic control, oxidation, precognition, resuscitator, star transceiver, photonic manipulation, probability control. Yeah, I realize I'm skipping a lot of these, but all right. Drawbacks. Oh, time travel. I am not giving players time travel. Not at all. Like if what is it? City on the Edge of Forever? Is that the Star Trek episode? Yeah, it would be like a time travel device that then self-destructs. That's all. That's all we're doing there. Okay. All right. Drawbacks. Almost all artifacts are flawed. You should be sure that even the most powerful artifacts, amazing immortality, but your farts smell like death. Yes. No, if they got the immortality one, I would absolutely make them. I would absolutely make it, the flaw's gonna suck. Almost all artifacts are flawed. You should be sure that even the most powerful artifacts do not disrupt the fun or balance of your campaign. That right there. Artifacts do not disrupt the fun or balance of your campaign. All right. Blackouts. The artifact may cause its user to lose all of his stun points and go unconscious under certain conditions. Okay, so just randomly, go unconscious. Okay, could be interesting. Compulsory behavior, decreased ability, damping field. Oh, there's only two. Okay, so there are way less drawbacks than there are powers. Degeneration. The artifact bombards its owner with radiation, rendering the hero susceptible to infection by alien microbes. It might even be toxic by extended contact. The hero must make constitution feat checks to resist bouts of illness. Slight. The hero must check once per adventure or once per month to see if the artifact causes illness. Moderate. The hero must check it anytime the hero's powers are used, or anytime he rolls a critical failure on a skill check. Extreme, as above, but the hero suffers a +3 penalty to his initial constitution feat check to resist the artifact's degenerative influence. And you're definitely screwed. Disruptive consciousness, leech, mental instability, uncontrolled function. The artifact has a tendency to activate its powers at inconvenient times and to ignore the hero's desperate efforts to activate it. Slight. There is a 1 in 4 chance that the artifact simply refuses to function when activated. Anytime its user rolls a critical failure during a skill check, the artifact has a 1 in 6 chance to activate in some erroneous or harmful manner. Moderate as above, but the chance of random activation is 2 in 6, and extreme, the chance is 3 in 6. Okay, so I'm gonna reiterate. Alien artifacts, they're magic items, and the whole system as presented is fantastic without any changes. Like there's few things that I would want or I even think need to be changed on it. I like that it gives the game master some flexibility, lets the player have some fun. So, all right. Campaign design. All right. So this is why our heroes are looking for the alien artifact. And okay. So we got about another 12 pages to go. All right. One of the game master's most creative exercises is the construction of an imaginary world or universe. In this realm, you decide everything. What genre does your setting fall into? Which progress level or technical innovations define it? What sorts of aliens are present? How is the world organized? Who's in charge and why? This chapter offers general advice on building an exciting setting and administering it over the lifetime of your campaign. Once you're familiar with the concepts presented here, you'll move on to Chapter 14, Campaign Architecture, for a discussion on putting together the physical details of your setting, sectors, stars, and planets. Ooh, okay. So, wait, hold on. Consulting the book again. I might... Ooh. Okay. I think, yeah, campaign architecture might be the only thing we cover tomorrow. And then next week, yeah. Because then it's adventure design, optional rules, and creatures and aliens. All right. We're gonna play this by ear. But regardless, okay, I'm super excited. All right, designing a campaign. How do you begin creating a campaign setting from scratch? One approach could be to start with a single planet, or even one area of a planet, and build outward, eventually creating an entire galaxy. Another option is to sketch out some concepts about the kind of campaign you want to run, then slowly sharpen your focus until you've fleshed out the setting. Your world becomes real with its introduction to your players, the heroes they create, and the adventures you build for them. Fortunately, you don't have to decide everything before the first game session. As you and your players weave a series of cooperative stories by playing adventure after adventure, the campaign grows and changes, developing in directions impossible to predict. Here's a short list of some of the options to consider when preparing a campaign setting. Time frame, genre, tone, and progress level for the campaign. Optional rules or rules customization, such as new hero species, expanded skill selections, equipment modifications, and other issues relating to character creation. The storyline or conflict for the heroes to explore during the game. The mission, common background, or bond that unites the heroes. The cast of interesting supporting characters, including major villains and allies. The major organizations, national authorities, aliens, and other powers that pull the strings in the setting. Primary threats in the setting. A map of the setting's area, marking major systems, planets, cities, and national boundaries. This topic is examined in detail in Chapter 14, Campaign Architecture. The initial adventure for the setting, along with a few adventure triggers that can expand on the campaign's theme. See Chapter 15, Adventure Design. Time frame. You can play just about any setting you can imagine with Alternity, or with the Alternity game, although it was designed specifically to accommodate science fiction settings. Within the realm of science fiction, you can choose one of 3 time frames: contemporary, near future, or far future. Contemporary science fiction. The contemporary setting uses the materials set forth in this book for civilization at progress level 5. This is, for most intents and purposes, the world of today. Everything you know from real life can serve as the backdrop for this campaign. Modern technology, daily news, real world locations, political figures, media stars, and much more. Of course, you can add any number of twists to the contemporary setting. These twists depend on the genre that you plan to incorporate into your campaign. A modern day techno thriller, for example, would use high tech weapons and spy gadgets, providing a few items from PL6, whether in the hands of heroes, in research facilities run by villains, or secretly under development by a mysterious corporation. Can make a contemporary campaign more interesting. Or you could play a contemporary setting, but incorporate psionics and mind walking abilities for an entirely different flavor. So this is, I like how they put this. So me personally, uh, so this thing right here, providing a few items from progress level 6, whether in the hands of the heroes in research facilities run by villains or secretly under development by a mysterious corporation. All right. So why did I reread that part? I have I don't know. I'm bad at watching new TV, new movies, things like that. But as a kid, I absolutely loved Airwolf. I can't tell you why, but I did. And I have never watched it as it's been on any of the streaming services because I didn't want to ruin my childhood. But I started watching it the other day because it showed up on Amazon. I'm like, what the heck? Let's give it a try. It's not horrible. It is clearly a product of the 80s. Maybe 70. No, it's definitely the 80s, but it is it's got some rough spots, but it definitely fits this kind of a thing. It's clearly 1980, but I mean a Mach 1 helicopter that has all of these super extra fancy gadgets that in the 80s seemed really, really cool. Um, you know, Same kind of a deal here. It's a special item. It's got fancy tech that most people don't have access to, and it's just in the hands of the heroes. So, but it's being, the villains are trying to get it, or, like in this case, Airwolf, is sort of being loaned out by the mysterious corporation, um, you know, it, to because that way the mysterious corporation can use it without you know without officially using it, if that makes sense. I mean, because that's like I hadn't I don't recall ever watching the pilot episode, but essentially that's what happens is like the designer runs away with Airwolf, and then the heroes go catch it and or not catch it, but go recover it. And instead of just turning it back over to the corporation, the corporation says, no, you keep it. And in return, we'll ask you to go do things for us. But then it's off the books. So again, easy way to just set that up. The super vehicle TV genre is absolutely 80s. I'm just using it as an example of, like how you can take this, contemporary setting and just twist it a little bit. And it doesn't even have to necessarily be a contemporary setting. It could be far future. The books typically stop at progress level 7. So they talk about some progress level 8 technology. So take that or create something new. Like you could absolutely make the super vehicle genre in a science fiction setting. You just establish what is the baseline and then give them some extra treats. All right. Near future sci-fi. A near future campaign is set at progress level 6. Like the contemporary setting, the near future campaign seems real because it's extrapolated directly from the events and conditions of today. What's your vision of tomorrow? You can take a pessimistic approach and create a dark, troubled world of Twilight. The genres of cyberpunk and combat science fiction are examples of the pessimistic aspect of the near future. Or you can lean toward optimism and create a world founded on humanity's noblest elements. Colonization of the solar system, for instance, can serve as the basis for an optimistic near future campaign. And far future science fiction. A far future campaign takes place in a civilization at progress level 7 or higher. As with the near future, the far future setting has the ability to showcase a triumphant destiny or a terrible fate in the days ahead. Far future campaigns may feature faster than light travel, galactic empires, exciting exploration of the unknown, and notions of the ultimate destiny. Once you select a time frame, it's easy to decide on the general availability of equipment and prevalence of technology. More information on progress levels appears later in this chapter. Genre. Science fiction encompasses a number of distinct genres that represent the types of stories you can tell. You might enjoy hard science fiction, where the reality of the campaign is strictly extrapolated from current technology. Or you might favor a science fantasy approach, where time and circumstance warps the nature of human capabilities, and technology works like magic. Alternate history, space opera, and cyberpunk, these and other genres all share common roots in science fiction, but they all possess markedly different characteristics. Once you have a genre in mind, the plots, themes, and possibilities of your setting become more apparent. The major genres of science fiction are described below. In any particular genre, if any particular genre interests you, feel free to research it further by reading books and viewing movies that cover its themes. Um, yeah, actually, that was one thing that was actually kind of fun to come out of the session on Saturday. Bear came up or started asking questions about, has there been a uh, a a quote unquote real science fantasy campaign, meaning taking elves and dwarves and gnomes and goblins and taking them out of like the single world and putting them out into the galaxy. So it's a science fiction setting, but still with a lot of those fantasy tropes. And needless to say, he threw together a campaign setting that sounds super awesome. And I'm probably going to end up playing in it if I can make some time for myself and not stretch myself so thin. But here we are. Um, so yeah, there's a lot that you can do with it. I don't think we're going to be playing it in Alternity. I think it's going to end up being uh 5e, but that's a whole separate issue. All right, alternate history. An alternate history campaign is one based on the fact that a single key event or series of events has unfolded differently from what actually happened in our real world. As a result, the fictitious social, political, and/or technological landscape of the fictional world has changed dramatically. Choose a significant and well-known event upon which to base your alternate history, and your players can appreciate the extent of historical drift in your world. This genre works well in contemporary or near future campaigns where you can explore the ramifications of the change. For example, you could decide that the Roman Empire never collapsed and thus the Dark Ages never befell Europe. The modern world in such a setting could be a high-tech version of the Roman Empire, a civilization locked in a Pax Romana that has existed for more than 2,000 years. Maybe political division is only now in the 20th or 21st century threatening to rend the empire into pieces. You can also use the alternate history genre to send heroes to parallel dimensions, worlds that look much like their own, with at least one significant difference. Your players could be scientists in control of this exploration, or they might be heroes lost in the dimensions working to find a way home. The exact nature of an alternate history campaign depends entirely on the divergence point, the place in history where your imaginary world separates from the familiar one. What if a scientific development reshaped history? Imagine the discovery of space travel in the 1850s, or decide that human contact with starfaring civilizations occurred in the middle of the Renaissance. If the divergence point creates a history in which humans come into contact with aliens, for example, a world where the Frawl settled on Earth decades or centuries ago and have been interacting openly with the humans around them, you might allow non human heroes to exist. Look for unexpected changes that your divergence may cause. For example, it's easy to imagine that France never sold the Louisiana Purchase to the United States. But what would this mean for prominent Americans born in later years in the states west of the Mississippi? If you want to design your setting in a relatively short period of time, an alternate history campaign offers a few distinct advantages, especially if you set it in contemporary times. Basing your campaign on a contemporary alternate Earth reduces the amount of background work you'll have to undertake. Since your players have an obvious familiarity with the setting, you won't have to explain every single aspect of your world. In fact, you'll just have to detail those elements of the alternate world that differ from the real one. Many alternate history stories set in the present day use contemporary technology. If the divergence accelerates or derails civilization and technological development, the progress level may change too. Naturally, if your campaign occurs at a different time in the alternate Earth's history, the technology should vary accordingly. Mhm. All right, have a good one, Glenn. But yes, alien like elves, gnomes, orcs, all of them are those are the aliens, and it's going to be great. All right, colonization. A colonization campaign places heroes in the role of explorers, frontiersmen, pioneers, and survivors. They are among the first brave souls to reach and settle a new world. The colonization effort might be the first attempts to build a lunar site, an outpost on Mars, or a base among the Jovian moons. Or it might deal with the settlement of a new star system. The world the heroes colonize can vary widely. Perhaps it's an inhospitable rock in need of drastic terraforming, if it can be terraformed at all. Or it might teem with life, including other sentient species. The colonization genre is a rich premise for a science fiction campaign. A variety of crucial missions suggest themselves: mapping the planet's surface, cataloging native life forms, exploring alien sites or ruins, and weathering unexpected natural hazards. There's the possibility of intrigue, sabotage, or strife among the colonists. What new society will arise far from home? If the heroes lead the colony, they must choose sites for settlements, figure out how to exploit existing resources, and possibly even undertake some social engineering as they try to organize and govern. A colonization campaign assumes that space travel is available. It may be a near future technology consisting of chemical rockets and one shot landers, a far future generation ship, or even a starfaring vessel that drops the heroes on a planet and then leaves to ferry other colony teams to remote destinations. However, it's possible that humans travel to new worlds by even more exotic means. For example, a vast spaceship could arrive and invite humans to journey to other stars, or scientists can find an ancient technological relic that opens a portal across space to another world. The technologies involved cast a heavy influence over the nature of the colony. How much support does it receive from the parent world? If faster than light travel is impossible, generations might pass before the colonists hear from their homeworld again, if they ever do. What kind of supplies do the heroes have with which to start their colony? Penal colonists, deportees, or shipwrecked populations might start with nothing more than the wreckage of their landing pods. Even well supplied colonists might face crucial shortages and irreplaceable equipment. Once these items break down, the heroes must wait until a supply ship arrives or make do without. While you can build an exciting campaign around the hero's struggle against a lifeless, inhospitable world, the most interesting colonization stories deal with the settlement of worlds where life already exists. What is the native ecology? Does the world contain creatures dangerous to humans? You're missing out on some fun if you decide that plankton and herbivores represent the sum total of indigenous life on the colonists' new world. Another exciting aspect of the um, colonization of life bearing worlds involves the presence of sentient creatures. How do these aliens, actually the natives, feel about their new neighbors? What kind of strange civilization or cultural rituals do they possess? These are important questions to answer when designing a colonization campaign. If you're dealing with the near future settlement of Earth's solar system, in all likelihood, you have a humans only campaign. But combine the colonization setting with an alternate history premise that the Thrall have already revealed themselves to humanity, and you have a situation in which members of both species might cooperate to tame an unsettled world. If the planet to be colonized already contains sentient creatures, players might be able to create native heroes as the story develops. Mutant heroes may work well in the colonization science fiction, especially if the planet they're colonizing requires humans to be modified or enhanced in order to survive. So this obviously there are tons of options. You can do you can do worlds that Lost in Space, Earth 2, Space Above and Beyond. Just trying to think of actually Space Above and Beyond would probably be more combat, but again, same kind of deal. Lots of options on that. All right, combat. Combat and military activity is one of the most common science fiction genres. In a combat science fiction campaign, heroes are members of a fighting force engaged in futuristic warfare or conflict. They may be bug hunters who clean out alien infestations on different stations and worlds, part of an elite strike force engaged in a war against alien marauders or rival human powers here on Earth, or high-tech mercenaries who accept contracts to fight for various causes. You can organize your players in any way that fits with the storyline of your campaign. However, 3 of the most common organizations in combat science fiction are the Fighter Squadron, the Infantry Platoon, and the Mercenary Company. As pilots and supporting members of a fighter squadron, the heroes use cutting-edge technology. They may serve on a planetary base, a space station, or a carrier of some kind. On occasion, they may undertake special duties such as long-range scouting, diplomatic missions, or weapons testing. Fast-moving fighter craft engaged in ship-to-ship combat should play a major role in most combat adventures. I know they want to do it, but I pretty much always hate those. I think they're such like fighter pilots aren't ground pounders. But if you're going to have an adventure, you need to get on the ground. And so then it takes all of the aspects of having a fighter pilot away. So I'm always mixed on that. I think it can be done. I just think I don't know, like Space Above and Beyond. Love the show. The premise made absolutely no sense. You are elite fighter pilots who will also land on planets and take territory. It didn't make any sense. All right. If you're going to do combat, I would definitely recommend Infantry Platoon or Mercenary Company. So let's keep going. In an infantry platoon, heroes see their enemies through rifle sights, while most pilots are officers or specialists who receive privileges. The typical infantry soldier is a low-ranking enlisted grunt who sits at the bottom of the chain of command. Marines may function as special security teams on ships or stations, serve as garrison soldiers or police on frontier worlds, or work as scouts who reconnoiter abandoned outposts, wrecked colonies, and possible enemy bases. Oh, backing up. If you want to do fighter pilots, MechWarrior First Edition, when we did the deep dive on that taught me how to do it. And I completely forgot, but that's how I think is how you would run it. First Edition basically says you make multiple characters. So when you need fighter pilots, you have a fighter pilot character. When you need infiltration, you have scouts and spies and grunts and stuff like that. You mix it, because it otherwise actually that's one of the problems that we had in the game on Saturday. A nerd's nerd created her character to be a shuttlecraft pilot. We didn't need a shuttlecraft. There is one, and she had some really fun interactions because the shuttlecraft was gone, and so she started freaking out like they stole her baby. But you know, again, it makes it hard, and she was struggling a little bit to get out of her shell and to be able to do stuff. So I'm kind of mixed on that. But yeah, that's if you want to do a fighter squadron, that's how you do it. Have multiple characters, and then you run the appropriate character for that particular scenario, just like MechWarrior said to do. All right, heroes and mercenary companies may find themselves fighting in the bloodiest frontiers of space, piloting a fighting vehicle, or going toe-to-toe with the most bizarre alien enemies. Depending on the laws and rules governing the employment of mercenaries, heroes may be slave soldiers, crude primitives, or wealthy and elite professionals. A combat science fiction campaign based on a group of space law enforcers can also work. In this campaign, heroes travel the galaxy dispensing justice with mass pistols and stun batons. While you might expect combat specs to dominate a combat science fiction campaign, they don't. Remember, soldiers need officers, diplomats, scouts, free agents, and armorers and medics, tech ops. Every profession has its uses during warfare. Combat science fiction is usually hard, grim, and realistic. Warfare in the future isn't pretty, and adventures often revolve around mere survival instead of victory. However, even the most bloodthirsty of heroes can't put up with an endless diet of firefights and secret raids. If you want to base your campaign on this type of scenario, create important storylines that move the heroes out of the trenches from time to time. For example, a marine transport might crash on an unidentified planet, so for a few adventures, the heroes explore the new area, investigate the native civilization, and generally get a break from the continuous fighting. Similarly, military personnel might receive special assignments, shore leave, or are transferred to different posts behind the lines. Use devices such as these to keep the heroes together and alive over the course of a dangerous campaign. Combat campaigns have the advantage of providing heroes with an immediate and obvious goal. Players know their hero's place in the universe, and most of the time the heroes have a clear mission to follow. In addition, you have the chain of command to guide the actions and adventures of the heroes. When they're ordered to explore an asteroid, they usually have little choice but to accept. One advantage of the combat campaign is that it can be based in any time period at any progress level. So for this, it has been many, many, many years since I've seen it. But the show Tour of Duty, I would say that could probably be good inspiration as far as how to run either an infantry platoon or mercenary command. Because it's going to have all those kinds of stories. And it's available on Roku. I might have to give that a try. Has been many, many, many years since I've seen that. Anyways, yeah, that's there. Okay, sorry. I let myself get distracted. All right. All right, cyberpunk is science fiction with a particular attitude. Cyber refers to cybernetics, the melding of the biological and the mechanical. In this way, scientists enhance the human body with mechanical augmentations and even biological engineering. Punk refers to the attitude that infuses this setting, one that combines alienation and disillusionment, as well as an aggressive disdain for authority. In a cyberpunk future, industrial and political blocks exist globally instead of nationally, and information networks, especially computer networks, control everything. Virtual reality, cyberspace, and the ability to project a disembodied consciousness into the world's networks are central to the concept. Media overload and an uncomfortable density of information also characterize the genre. Adventures can range from covert actions, espionage, and corporate sabotage to data theft, murder mysteries, and military science fiction, all within the framework of a dark, near-future world where technology has merged with humanity, perhaps to the detriment or elevation of both. Most cyberpunk campaigns take place in the near future, though elements of the genre could appear in any progress level. While most of these campaigns offer a dark dream of the days to come, there's no reason you can't create a reasonably bright and optimistic cybernetic setting. Obviously, this type of campaign should utilize the rules for computers and cybernetics detailed in the player's handbook. Uh, Obviously, Cyberpunk, Shadowrun are good contemporary examples. I do also like the description they gave of it because it's very much that 90s feel. I mean, you keep in mind that Shadowrun, Cyberpunk, and I'm going to include Rifts in this, all came out within a decade prior. And so there's, it's still technically a newer concept. We're now, 30 years down the road. I guess you could even say closer to 40 years down the road for a lot of the cyberpunk concepts. But at the time was still relatively new. I don't think I'd ever heard. Like, I remember reading Neuromancer in high school, but I still don't think I ever heard of cyberpunk, at least as a term, for a few years as well. So, again, something else to think about. All right. Exploration. Obviously, Star Trek. Exploration of the stars is usually the first theme people think of when the words science fiction are spoken. In this type of campaign, heroes adventure out into the fringe of human space, explore new worlds and new civilizations, and aspire to challenge the great unknown. Although you could run a fine exploration campaign based on the charting of the local solar system, this genre usually aims higher, encompassing the stars. The heroes may be a small survey team on a tiny scout ship, leading officers on a huge star cruiser, independent traders trying to find new markets and resources, or even a specialized contact or landing team under the command of a ship's captain. An exploration campaign is episodic in nature. Each new world or star system is an adventure waiting to happen, a neat and self-contained package that the heroes can deal with and usually leave behind. While a great number of adventures in this kind of setting can involve contact with a new phenomena or alien societies, the heroes may occasionally take on different missions. For instance, an interstellar government could order a scout ship to convey a politician to a remote post because the ship happens to be in the right sector at the right time. Another aspect crucial to the development of an exploration campaign is the creation of the authority, guidelines, and restrictions that govern a ship's movements and missions. If the heroes aren't the only crew members of their vessel, you'll need to define the key supporting cast members who are likely to interact with the heroes on a regular basis. You could offer up a hard science exploration campaign involving charting and survey missions and paying careful attention to habitability zones, spectral classes, and the rules of planetary formation detailed later in this book. In such a case, many stars in the galaxy will be next to useless from a human point of view, although substantial concentrations of rare minerals might warrant prospecting. On the other hand, you can play an exploration campaign as science fantasy, unveiling marvel after marvel as the heroes encounter time portals, advanced civilizations, and worlds that illustrate a meaningful human condition. In any event, a team of heroes should include at least one diplomat, since meeting new races could constitute one of the chief features of the campaign. Interstellar travel is usually a must for this type of setting, and hence, PL7 is probably the minimum base progress level. A PL6 exploration campaign in which travel takes place at sublight speeds is possible, but it will have a far different scope and flavor because such a campaign centers on the exploration of a single star system. All right, Future Earth. The Future Earth story examines a possibility. What's waiting for us in the centuries or millennia to follow? A nuclear or ecological catastrophe, an alien invasion, dangerous or wonderful new technologies. Will humanity remain the dominant species on the planet? A Future Earth campaign can involve an astonishing variety of conditions, technologies, and heroic roles. The entire world may have blown itself back to the squalid savagery by nuclear war, or maybe a select group of humans lives in an age of grace and learning, hidden away from the apocalypse that devastated the rest of the world. Even if humanity's physical condition advances drastically, new social problems may arise to form the focus of a campaign. For example, a world without sickness, hunger, or hardship could be ravaged by the tyranny of dictators. Repairing such a broken utopia can be quite a challenge, even if the heroes never confront raw physical danger. Building a future Earth is much like creating an alternate history campaign. You don't need to postulate any major divergences in history. Events of the present day are unchanged. Instead, extrapolate a key event, development, or situation that defines the world of the future, and then build a campaign to fit. For a low tech survival campaign, think about a future in which our modern society declines in both knowledge and civilization. If you want aliens in your future Earth campaigns, think about how they traveled to Earth, what happened when they arrived, and how they coexist with humanity. Be careful of creating worlds that are too advanced or civilized. Heroes need frontiers and enemies. In a society without these challenges, there's little for them to do. Timeline is a good tool for building this sort of campaign. It's nothing more than a list of dates beginning with the modern day and working forward to the campaign's present day. If your future Earth has endured World Wars III and IV, make a note about when and why these wars were fought. Influential people, landmark legislation, international affairs, and major new inventions probably deserve notations on your timeline, especially if they're completely imaginary or speculative. It's easy for your players to accept the introduction of superconducting technology, since scientists are currently exploring this field. But if you want players to accept teleportation and anti-gravity, you should explain how these technologies came to be. Not in painstaking scientific detail, but at least in general terms that makes their development believable. When deciding on the progress level at which to set a future Earth campaign, think about the history you've created. Do you see the world going forward or sliding back? Major catastrophes, diseases, or economic collapse may result in a reversion to more primitive technologies. It's theoretically possible, for instance, for a future Earth setting to be at PL5 or even PL4, even though civilization had advanced to PL6 at some time in the past. Horror. The premise of horror science fiction centers on the presence of dark creatures and phenomena inimical to human life. Heroes are frail and vulnerable in the face of terrible, unintelligible evils, and only quick thinking and luck can preserve their lives. Apply the conventions of traditional horror to a science fiction setting. Alien invaders that insidiously possess humans through subtle or overt means. Heroes stranded in an isolated area where fear and terror can breed. Monsters that are otherworldly in nature or the result of a scientific experiment gone awry. Technology has a dark side, and you can use this to great effect in a horror science fiction setting. In order for a horror story to work, the plot must involve threats that are beyond human understanding. You should place the heroes in a position to encounter these threats and temporarily defeat them, or at least survive them. Players should never be certain of the outcome as far as they know. The creatures and phenomena in your campaign have the ability to kill or maim their heroes or drive them insane in each and every game session. It's your job to create situations in which the players would never want to find themselves. In a good horror game, your players should experience twinges of fear and unease. The very notion of finding themselves in the same boat as their heroes should send shivers of fright down their spines. Make use of maddening anticipation, foreshadowing of a doom too horrible to imagine, and false shelter or security from a threat. Above all, create dark, dismal, and unnerving settings in which fiendish plots can unfold. The horror science fiction campaign can take many forms. For example, you can create a standard exploration or colonization scenario in a dark universe. Imagine the plight of colonists stranded on a world with ancient evils slumbering in ancient ruins, stirring in hunger once the heroes disturb their rest. Or add the backdrop of cosmic horror to any other campaign setting, a utopian society that discovers forces and creatures of astonishing power and malevolence lurking in the galactic shadows makes for a truly horrifying setting. Horror science fiction stories can also involve alien creatures that invade the relatively close confines of a spaceship or space station. An alien predator species could come to Earth and begin hunting and killing humans for sport. Horror is difficult to sustain in any venue, but especially so in a science fiction setting. A campaign usually encompasses the continuing adventures and advancement of the heroes from story to story, but most horror stories are about survival. Finding a way to let the heroes live in order to adventure again is difficult. Doing so while maintaining the credibility of a horrible threat or monster is even more challenging. After all, if the force or creature in question wasn't tough enough to destroy the heroes the first time around, why should they be afraid of it? In order to maintain tension and terror, you must find a way to keep the heroes in the line of fire while allowing the threat to evolve with time. The availability of aliens as heroic characters instills a sense of wonder in a game setting. However, in a horror campaign, it's often a good idea to downplay the marvelous. Therefore, you might want to limit the number of alien species available to be used for heroes. If you decide to use the standard aliens described in the player's handbook, make them more mysterious and inhuman. Perhaps they have goals and desires that the human heroes find incomprehensible or threatening, or they may exist as savages or indentured servants, deliberately denied technology, fostering the impression of a superior humanity in a well ordered universe. Any of the game options, mutants, psionics, and cybertech, are appropriate to this setting, but in horror science fiction, every benefit should have a hefty price tag. If a hero wants to run a Mindwalker hero, make sure that the hero runs across psionic terrors that can slice his mind to ribbons. Make Mindwalkers, mutants, and cyborgs the subjects of hatred and fear in a horror setting. Not only do they have to worry about the insidious threat against which they battle, but they must also protect themselves against a society that views them as horrors themselves. In a horror campaign, the irrational intrudes into the rational world of science. With this intrusion comes fear, and thus science fiction and horror collide in fascinating and disturbing ways. Many times, this collision is the result of supernatural occurrences, often buttressed by a rational, quasi-scientific explanation. Other times, it's just the result of technology employed without moral guidelines or restraint. You can set an Earth-based horror science fiction campaign in almost any time and age, although you might consider it an alternate history campaign if it's set deep in the past. Since technology grows more powerful at higher progress levels, you might deliberately disallow, suppress, or pervert key technologies the heroes could otherwise use. For instance, star travel may be much more dangerous or uncertain in a horror science fiction campaign than in a normal exploration or space opera setting. Event Horizon, which I've never watched and probably never will, because Brian doesn't do scary movies. But again, there's all sorts of good examples. All right. Space opera deals with epic themes such as the struggle of civilization against ancient evils, alien invaders, or sinister galactic empires. Meanwhile, the characters and stories preserve a tight focus by using these great ongoing struggles as a backdrop. For example, you can create a story around heroes who fight in a war, work as spies, or engage in various missions for their cause. The backdrop is an epic tale of interplanetary or interstellar conflict. Space opera doesn't have to be full of fleet commanders and bright, shining heroes. It can be grim and realistic, driven by characters both human and flawed. It's easy to keep a space opera campaign on track because at the heart of the setting is a clear enemy or hostile power against which the heroes must stand. Even if they're not leaders and rulers, heroes will find themselves at the center of pivotal events, their actions helping to determine the outcome of the great conflict between good and evil. Space opera deals with the big picture, a galaxy-spanning empire, an immediate and overwhelming problem to threaten the heroes, and plenty of elbow room for the heroes to bounce from world to world in the pursuit of their goals. Space opera characters and settings are generally larger than life, caricatures designed to capture one aspect or trait and magnify it for the story. Instead of Earth-like worlds with a mix of terrain, space opera features venues such as the lava planet, the jungle planet, and the ice planet. The presence of a clear conflict doesn't necessarily force everyone to take sides. Many characters may have questionable loyalties, uncertain motivations, or personal agendas. Even in the face of galactic war, smugglers, crime bosses, or corrupt governors might try to make as much money as possible from the conflict. Having the heroes deal with these secondary threats or interests may be a welcome diversion from coping with the omnipresent danger or conflict that drives the campaign. In the typical space opera, alien species are abundant. Feel free to introduce as many weird aliens as you like. And since this type of campaign is so diverse, you can modify these rules any way that makes sense. If you want to limit or restrict the game options mentioned in the player's handbook, stipulate that heroes who choose these options must belong to certain species or organizations. For instance, cybernetics may be expensive or illegal in most human societies, so a hero with cybernetic implants might necessarily be a representative of a particular planet that has a relatively relaxed attitude towards cyberware. When elements of science fantasy are added to space opera, the setting becomes even wilder. Such campaigns cross into the realm of pulp fiction, where magic exists beside high tech wonders and a hero wields a wand in one hand and a laser pistol in the other. Consider using the FX system detailed in Chapter 16 in this type of campaign. Space opera campaigns require at least progress level 6 technology. Generally, you're probably better off designating progress level 7 or 8 for such a campaign. Don't forget that isolated areas of inferior or superior technology may exist. And superheroic. Comic books feature all kinds of science fiction elements: secret research labs, experimental energy weapons, powered armor, aliens from distant worlds, and dimensional invaders. A superheroic science fiction campaign assumes that heroes are individuals who, because of special and even unique abilities, stand head and shoulders above the most talented normals. You can easily run a low powered superheroic game using the standard rules and options presented in the player's handbook. For more powerful superheroics, use the FX system detailed in Chapter 16 Optional Rules. Assume that only a few super characters can possess these abilities, while the rest of the world contains supporting characters with none of these powers. The superhero genre features one particular plot device that's indispensable: the superhero team. Many of the most famous superheroes are part of superhero groups, combining their efforts to stop various villains and threats that trouble the rest of the world. Superhero teams often share a base facility while traveling throughout an area to answer calls of need. While many superhero tales are set in a world much like contemporary Earth, you shouldn't feel limited to the late 20th century. A World War II timeframe could work just fine. Or you could advance your story into the future, working superheroes into a galactic espionage or space opera setting. Typically, superheroes and supervillains have access to extremely advanced technology compared to their society standards. Therefore, allow heroes to make use of some equipment one or two progress levels ahead of the rest of the world, especially tech op heroes who build their own super advanced gadgets. All right, I like that. And techno thriller. A techno thriller campaign usually takes place in a world much like our own. It's a modern or near future setting without the flashy technology of star travel and anti gravity. Of course, heroes may have marvelous gadgets and devices to help them do their job. Action heroes and super spies always have access to gear that's more advanced than stuff you can find at the local electronics shop. The best way to bring heroes into this kind of campaign is to enlist them as secret agents working for an intelligence organization. The organization may be your rendition of something realistic, such as the CIA or a fictional shadow intelligence agency. As top field operatives, the heroes receive orders that they must carry out using their own ingenuity. In a techno thriller setting, heroes operate in a shadowy world of charismatic enemy spies, assumed identities, and mysterious contacts. They get involved in some real world espionage activities from time to time, such as shadowing suspected informants, going on surveillance missions, and wading through computer files or financial records to track down payoffs and expose fake business fronts. Discovering the identity and identifying the vulnerability of an enemy should be a large part of such a campaign, as well as daring rescues, sabotage, or other covert action missions for the combat oriented players. Aliens don't play lead roles in the typical techno thriller setting. In the classic form of this campaign, the hero is smart, tough, charming, quick, and human. Mutants and Mindwalkers may be appropriate for one of a kind super agents, but be careful about setting such characters loose in an otherwise normal world. Cybernetics may exist on a modest level in the form of special devices built for agents. A near future techno thriller could take place in the early days of solar system colonization. In the far future, suave corporate spies could ply their trade in the business rivalries of a galaxy spanning society. Woof! All right. That is. uh, this is so much text. Let's see. All right. Let's, you know what? I was okay. You know what, folks? I'm going to put a pause here. We're going to come back and we're going to keep going with this tomorrow. But for right now, my brain is just getting all over the place. So, I am not focusing and I am not providing enough commentary in my opinion. Maybe you don't necessarily want the commentary, but I kind of feel I need to use it. That way, they don't like it's not just copyright strike or something. I don't know. But there is a lot of really good information here, a lot of really good suggestions and hints for making your own campaign settings, your own designs. Um I I've enjoyed all of it. I'm just literally losing my voice on this. Um, so that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna put a pause on this. We're gonna pick this up tomorrow. Um, and the plan right now is to have it all finished next week. So don't worry, we will get through it. But this is just such a huge wall of text. So I hope you enjoyed it, folks. If you did, please hit that like button. If you're new here, make sure you hit the subscribe button. This is like I am making this a habit. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I'll just do a solo deep dive on all sorts of different games. So next up for the morning, which will be starting the week of March 16th, because I am going to be taking a week off again here soon. I'm thinking about doing either Fragged Kingdom or Fragged Empire. I just need to reach out to the creator, see what he thinks. But regardless, I'm having a lot of fun with it, and I hope you guys are as well. So, like I said, hit the like button, make sure you're subscribed, share it with people that you think might find it interesting. I know I'm having fun, and so I'm enjoying getting this material out here for everyone. So, with all that said, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it, and we will see you all tomorrow. Thanks, everybody.